We hit 10 million in 1 year with that business. We had a good about 400K in MRR at that time. 2008, the housing crisis, the recession, and went out of business. I went down with it. There's a lot of twists and turns in between there. And it took me a while to realize that it wasn't the fucking recession's fault. It was my fault.
All right. Welcome back to the Lead God podcast. We took a little hiatus. Things got a little bit busy with work, but now we're back on. And I want to bring back on someone that I found super interesting, but not just interesting, someone that I looked up to as someone doing things bigger than me, right? So I like to invest my time and energy into people that are doing massive, massive things. So that's why I wanted to bring on Anthony today. Anthony Busciglio. He's the founder of APN Tech, which is a voice search software company and sales organization over here in California. And we're going to dive into the story and hear a little about how he got started and how he scaled this thing so fast and so rapidly. So Anthony, thank you so much for joining the Lead God podcast.
What's up, brother? Thanks for having me on. I'm honored. And don't sell yourself short, man. Are you kidding me? You've been fucking murdering it, dude. And you figured some shit out that I look up to you, man? So coming to your office, how awesome, what an awesome setting, what awesome people you have there. I just walked in there and felt like the good vibe and the good juju, man. So congrats to what you're doing, man. You're crushing it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. And I think sometimes you're so concentrated in your own little box. It's hard to see what other guys are doing and how they did it and, how they achieved what they've achieved, right? And I've never thought like I figured out anything. And that's why I like networking and doing the social media stuff is I'm learning from guys that maybe a little nugget that I am not implementing in my business. And I've already done that with a couple of these guys who've been on the podcast. So again, I appreciate you taking your time and jumping on and sharing your story today.
Yeah, you're right. Sometimes one little nugget can change everything. So I love doing this stuff too. I learn every time I do.
Cool, man. Well, let's jump into your story. So I know you've ran a couple businesses. I know this wasn't your first venture, but where'd you grow up at? Were you from Orange County originally or you moved here?
No. I grew up East Coast, New Jersey. I moved out to Orange County 5 years ago. I was East Coast guy my whole life, grew up Sicilian. My parents are right off the boat. They're actually here for Thanksgiving. My mom came from the East Coast and took over the kitchen for Thanksgiving. So they're actually going back tomorrow. Nice to have my folks here. But yeah, I grew up born and raised in Bergen County, New Jersey, man.
Okay. And then you moved out here for what reason? Is there a particular reason you moved out to Orange County?
Yeah, back in 2010, 11, 12, back when I met Nick. Nick's the guy who introduced me to Ken. Me and Nick were doing some business together, and I was coming out to Orange County every couple months, and I fell in love with it out here. And my wife did too. But growing up Italian, growing up with a lot of family around, not a lot of people would have the balls to get up and leave the family behind, leave my folks behind. I got my kids, it's the grandkids. It's a tough thing to do. I wanted to do it, but I was like, I wasn't going to come here to start over financially. Like the things had to be aligned business wise for me to make the move. I wasn't going to come here and start over. Like shit had to be working. And in 2019, this guy that helped me scale one of my previous companies, I was kind of stuck at a certain level in New Jersey with my my sales company in 2014, and we'll talk about that afterwards. And this guy came in, I met him through a mutual friend and showed me some different ways to scale up my sales reps because we were like stuck, man. We just, no matter how many leads we provided, we were stuck at this ceiling, and he came and really helped us. So me and him started talking again, and I had my office in Jersey. He had a little shop over here, and but he had nobody in it. It had 20 cubicles built out. I was like, hey, man, you want to try doing a little East Coast, West Coast thing? We'll do one set of sales there. I'll do the upsells here. We'll do this thing together and see if we get this East Coast, West Coast thing going. If it works out good, I'll come out there and we'll build headquarters out there. So after about a year, and this is 2018, after about a year of getting this going, next thing you know, I got 10 guys in Jersey. There's 20 guys here. I started coming out here more and more. Then I rented an apartment. So I was coming here 1 week out of every month, spending time here. And then I knew it was time. I knew it was all going to work. So I grabbed my wife and kids and moved them all out here, and we set up headquarters out here. So we still have both offices, but headquarters is in Anaheim. You've been to my office. We have, about 80 employees here. And then in Jersey, I still have a 12 to 15 reps over there that's the upsell department over there. So I go back and forth, but I spend most of my time out here in Orange County now.
Got it. Yeah. So you kind of got things rolling before committing to over here.
Yeah, I was not going to go start all over. I had to make sure the everything was looking good.
Yeah, you're moving your wife, kids, life. You better be pretty sure.
100% sure.
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
not going to
Well,
come here and figure shit out all over again. I've done that plenty of times.
yeah, no, I understand that. I got a feeling too, so I know how that is. So
Yeah.
before jumping into APN and hearing how that thing blew up, take us back a little bit. So, were you always an entrepreneur? How'd you get into entrepreneurship? What brought you to that that course in your life where you decided to essentially take a risk on yourself?
Yeah. So, good question. I went to college. I went to college for economics, which I didn't even know what the fuck that even meant. I knew it was the lowest GPA to graduate. It was 2.0. I'll pick that one. I was in college for 7 years. I lived there for 7 years. Okay. And I partied in college the whole time. I learned nothing. I got into the restaurant business. I was a waiter and then I became a manager and I managed a restaurant for about 4 years till I was 23. And I thought I was going to be in the restaurant business. My dad was into it. He wanted to open a restaurant with me. And thank God I didn't, because that's a fucking grind, man.
Yeah,
That's a 7 day a week, holidays, no time off, morning, night, late night bar, booze, like not really the lifestyle that really at that time I thought it was so cool. But
yeah,
looking forward, I couldn't imagine having a family and kids and living that kind of lifestyle and 24 hours a day, weekends, and there's booze around and just not good things around when it comes to the type of restaurant I was running. And so at that time, I wanted to. A lot of people always said, "Hey, man, you'd be so good at sales. You got the gift of gab. You would crush it in sales." So a couple of buddies I knew were in the mortgage business. This is 2001, and I got a job as a mortgage broker. And I just came from the restaurant business where I was going in at 10 a.m. and I was wrapping up at 2 a.m. I was working 6 days a week, double shifts, putting in 80, 90, 100 hours. So when I got into the mortgage broker shop, I got there and there was guys coming in at 9 and they were out the door at 4 o'clock. I was like, where are these guys going? I was used to working 16-hour days. I was like, what is this? So I was so used to that work ethic, right? That when I found out quickly that was my advantage, right? Because it didn't
hmm
bother me. So I was coming in at 8 a.m. and I was staying till 8 p.m. I was putting in 12 hours. These guys are putting in like 6, 7 hours. So I started out working people. I quickly found out that I knew how to talk. I knew how to sell. And within 3 months, I was running circles around everybody in the office. I was out producing everybody. Sheer work ethic alone. I wasn't the most talented. I was just getting going, but I was just out working everybody. And then, the owner of the company saw that I was coming in early and late. So he starts giving me extra leads because I'm putting in the time. And
yeah,
then next thing you know, I had a team underneath me. And then there were 6 teams in the office. We had a huge office in New York City in Times Square. There was 80 brokers in the shop and we were 6 teams. And my 6-man team was out producing all the other teams by 5X. And then next thing you know, I ended up running that office in New York City. And then after the lease was up there, I asked for my release and the guy did the right thing by me. He's like, I had to go do your own thing. I know you want to go start your own shop. And I started my own broker shop in New Jersey. There's a lot of twists and turns in between there, and we'll save that for another day. There's some really
yeah. It happens.
crazy stories of how everything kind of went down. But opened up my own broker shop, 2004 it was, and we had about a 5-year run. It was like December of 2003. And we had a strong run, man. I mean, we killed it. You were a lot younger back then. I was in my 20s. You were in your teens, right?
Yeah,
And the rates were dropping, and I'll admit it wasn't hard.
yeah,
It was easy to sell somebody on a 6% rate when they had 10 and 12 and they could save all this money every month and consolidate their credit cards and do these subprime loans, which was what was going on back then, and no doc and 100% purchase and all this crazy kind of deals that the banks were offering. So I ended up doing that. And then 2008, the housing crisis, the recession, right? And went out of business. I went down with it. And, for the longest time, I blamed that. That was like the easy cop out, right?
yeah.
Oh, the recession, the housing market, the banks. It was such an easy way to blame and cop out. And it took me a while to realize that it wasn't the fucking recession's fault. It was my fault.
Hmm.
And I had to realize the accountability and look back at what I was doing those 5 years. I was kicking back, my feet were up. I had my guys making money for me, and I wasn't evolving at all. I didn't learn
Wow.
any new skill sets. I just sat back. I was young. I had an ego. And to me, money was like a faucet. I just opened up the faucet and it kept coming in. And it took me a long time to realize. It probably took me about 3 or 4 years afterwards to realize, like, man, that wasn't the fucking recession's fault, because there was guys in the business that stayed in business during the
Yeah.
recession. Then
Yeah.
they came out of it and they were doing better than ever. So here was me, pouting about how it wasn't. It was my fault. I didn't grow. I didn't learn. I didn't level up. I didn't invest in myself. I didn't learn about the internet at that time. I didn't learn how to generate my own leads. Instead, I'm paying people $50 a lead when they're getting them for $5. There was so much I could have done in educating myself, right? Instead, I sat back and learned a real lesson. I had a nice slice of humble pie, and I got hammered, bro. Bankruptcy.
And that's what happens, man. I think you sit back for a significant amount of time and you're not constantly trying to reinvent yourself and your business. What happens, you get hit. You get hit with the reality of the marketplace. You get hit with reality with the market changing. And all of a sudden you didn't have the tools that you needed to essentially put together, during that time. And that's happened to me multiple times within my business. So when you're talking about that, I know exactly that feeling is, dang, I should have been putting in the work to get this thing, really booming and working on myself and my business. Instead, sometimes you get in a comfort zone because, hey, maybe it is your first go at it. It's your first, business that took off and you're like, hey, this is just how it is, and sometimes you don't know that until you're going through it.
Yeah, man. And when I got crushed, I bought 3 properties in 2006 and 7 in the height of the market. Okay.
Yeah.
I had a beautiful house I lived in, 6,000 square foot house, big movie theater in the basement, bar, pool table, foreclosure. I had a second home in Atlantic City I used to go to all the time with my buddies on the weekends, acting like a big shot, paying for everybody, a condo on there, foreclosure. Had an investment property in Jersey City, which was booming at the time. I brought pre-construction, foreclosure. I had 3 properties on foreclosure at the same time. I had $150,000 in credit card debt, and I had to do a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. That's how I went from 2 years before that, top of the world, to fucking rock bottom, losing everything, and then even all the doubters around me, my own family, my parents, my wife, my friends. Oh man, you got lucky. It was the mortgage business. You kind of got lucky. That wasn't reality. You can't make that kind of money. Go get a job. Like that's what. So besides dealing with the reality of the situation, the doubts around me, that made it even worse. And your confidence and how you're feeling about yourself and the decisions that you made. So took a nice slice of humble pie there, bro. And but what I did start to do was start to learn. And I just hunkered down in my basement. I wasn't paying my mortgage, and I knew they weren't foreclosing on anything for years at that time. And I moved a bunch of desks into my basement. I was having people over and just trying to figure shit out. Learning about Google, learning about AdWords, learning about lead gen, learning how to write copy, learning how to shoot videos. I did a couple MLMs, got sold a dream there. That didn't work out. Did a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And then finally figured something out, me and my partner, Kevin, something to sell. Like, hey, how can we sell something digital over the phones? Right? How can we sell it to business owners? And then we kind of figured out the sale, and we started making a couple of sales, but we didn't have any money to start an office. I knew we could scale this thing out, but we didn't have the capital. That was broken. And then we ran into, I don't believe you get lucky. I feel like if you work hard, eventually you'll run into a break because you work so hard. And there was somebody that kept coming around, like a mentor to us, who kept like watching what we were doing and made us an introduction to somebody in New York in the Empire State Building. And this guy really liked us. And he had this big accounting firm on the 64th floor of the Empire State Building. He had a fucking $80 million operation on the whole 64th floor of the Empire State Building. And he sold accounting services, tax services. And he said, hey, man, I know you got this thing going with business owners. And Brian told me that you want to start something up, but you don't have the funds to do it. I'll make you a deal. Said, I got an office for you upstairs in the Empire State Building. You can fit about 12 guys in there. You don't got to pay me rent. You can use my phones, use my computers. All I ask is that after you make the sale, pass that customer to me and let me see if we could sell them our accounting services.
Yeah. Wow.
I was like, done, bro. It was like a gift from God. And we started working out of the Empire State Building. And then within 3 months, I had 12 guys in there. I had guys sitting on the floor. It was like a boiler room in the Empire State Building. And after 3 months, we got it going. My leads were not converting to the accounting packages. So one day the guy comes in, he goes, hey man, look, I hope I helped you out. You're a nice guy, but you got to get the fuck out of here. He's like, I'm not making any money off of your guys. But I'm like, look, you did. Thank you so much for everything you did. But I'll say this, that 3 months that I was there was the best education I ever had in my life, that I got to witness how an $80 million operation ran and how they passed leads from one department to the other, how they set appointments, how they had multiple products to sell, how they did the sales. It was like the best education I ever had was there. Then from there, I got going and I got my own office in New York. And then I moved to Jersey and started the office there. And we ended up building a pretty big business at that time, similar to this one. But I got that up to about 100 guys. Oh, and we hit 10 million in 1 year with that business. We had a good about 400K in MRR at that time. And that ran for about 6 years. I did really well. And then we had to stop because back then, we were using pre-recorded messages, which was 100% legal and compliant. And then they passed that law that even with business owners, you can no longer do pre-recorded messages. Yeah. And it just happened like one day out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere. We knew it was coming, but so we tried to pivot and we tried to go all lead gen, stop doing pre-recorded messages. But another hard lesson I learned, Ken, was no hard pivots. You got to transition into things. I try to pivot the whole company in one shot and move 80 guys to leads from taking calls to outbound dialing. And it was a disaster. No, man.
The whole culture is built around kind of what you're feeding everyone. I think that's like something I've had to learn with my own business is like, if you're heavily relying on like a marketing source and like something happens with that, your whole business model is based off that. It's so hard to change it. So I think kind of what you said, you integrate all these different channels, all these different strategies at the same time and integrate these through your business. And if something happens with one of them, then you got these other ones to, essentially help you keep your business going. But if you're heavily relying on something, it can take you out, and I've experienced that with my own businesses. So it's scary too. You got payroll, you got a new business that you just got up and rolling. So you're probably like, hey, I did it again. And then boom, something happens where and I always feel like I saw this quote somewhere. I'm trying to remember where I saw it, is like, if there's something wrong with your business, it's your business telling you something that you're not doing correct, right? It's not the market and all this other stuff. Yeah, of course that has like challenges with your business, but it's telling you something wrong with your business where you need to change it or you need to double down on it, And sometimes as entrepreneurs, we get in a groove and it's something that's working. We don't want to change it too much, but we need to implement other safe, basically backups to reinsure our success. If something's going to happen, it's not if, it's when. And I've realized that time and time again. So you got to the point of scaling this business again, and another big challenge.
Yeah, another big challenge. And, in hindsight, what I should have done was, because we heard about the heat that was coming down with TCPA on this stuff. And what I should have done was start to test lead gen with a small group of guys, get it going, 3, 4, 5 guys, adding more guys and build it slowly. Instead, I tried to pivot the whole company. What I did wrong was we had a good amount of revenue coming in from the reoccurring subscription. So we were blowing through that money, spending it on leads, trying to convert and catch up. I did that for 18 months and we blew through a couple $1 million that I didn't have to blow through. Right. Yeah. So finally we're like, hey, what are we doing here? We need to reset. We still have a good amount of money coming in. So we're going to wrap this up for now. Let's take a little break, reassess. Let's do things right on the third time. So that's what we did. We had money coming in. Thank God for that. That's why I'll never do a business without reoccurring revenue. I love reoccurring revenue because times like that, you're good. Yeah. A little break, did a couple other things. Was doing some stuff with Amazon and then we got the itch to get back in. We had this idea for this new company, APN Tech. and we're like, let's do it right from the beginning. And we figured out the marketing first, make sure the leads converted with one guy, and then a second guy, and then a third guy. And, this is over the course of 5 years. And, we're full blown lead gen, all paid media. We spend a lot of money on leads, qualified leads every day, 900, 1,000 leads a day. All our reps take qualified leads, all compliant. We're not in any kind of regulatory thing now when it comes to dialing, thank God, because that's a nightmare to deal with. And we've had tremendous growth. I mean, we did, in 5 years, it was 1.7 year one, then 3.2, 3.1, then 7.2, then 12.5. This year we'll do 21.
It's
We're
awesome.
forecasted 28 next year. We did 5,000 2 years in a row. So now we're on a good run, and we've built this business now for longevity and for
Yeah.
scale. So very grateful to even have the opportunity to do this, and and learn from all the lessons and bad mistakes and choices. You're always going to make mistakes no matter what,
Yeah.
but not making the big mistakes anymore. Like, I learned enough hard lessons, no more big mistakes. I'll take a bunch of fails to get to a win, no problem, but not looking to make any big mistakes anymore.
No, 100%. And was this APN Tech, was this the same business that you were running prior? Or was it the same
Similar,
product?
a
Okay.
little similar, different front end sale, similar upsells, all B2B marketing products. Mainly we focus on helping service-based businesses, contractors, plumbers, painters. We could do any business, but the service works the best for service-based businesses looking to get visibility in their local area.
Got it. So your product is, if I want to be more basically pop up on Google or some of these sites
If you
that,
want to be visible online, period, whether it's on voice search devices like Alexa, Siri, and Google Assistant, or every other directory out there, Google, Bing, Yahoo, Yelp, Super Pages, all the citations, all the subdirectories, it's getting you listed, optimized, making sure you look like a professional, and help assist you get plenty of reviews, because every customer these days makes their decision to call you based on what you look like and based
yeah.
on your reviews. So we just arm the business owner with the tools they need to get free organic business by being optimized online.
Yeah, and you're in a tough market because not only do you have to run a sales organization, but you have to run a technology company at the same time. And I think nowadays a lot of companies are technology driven, right? I mean, that's just everything. But you're pretty heavily reliant too on tech too, right?
Yeah.
You have to make sure your tech team is dialed in with changes, making sure that you're better than your competition. How do you managing both of those aspects of the business? Because those are two different mindsets. One super sales oriented, right? And then you got the technology, ever changing marketplace, always staying ahead of the curve. How do you balance both of those two?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm the rah sales guy, and I have great partners, and my partner Kevin, who's been my partner since 2009. He's the COO. He runs the tech team. He's the mastermind. He's the data guy. He heads up the entire tech team. We just brought in a product manager. We used a recruiting company to bring in. So we still have to bring in some more talent when it comes to the tech side of things. But I'm involved in the conversations when it comes to decision making. But I
Yeah,
mean, I, thank God I have a partner who has complete opposite strengths than I do. I'm the
yeah,
social guy. I'm the face guy. I'm the talker. I'm the meeting guy. I'm the sales guy, and he's completely the talking, the data, the reporting. And then I think you met Kevin on the Slack. You didn't actually get to have. We got to have dinner and get together. By the way, next time he's
yeah,
here. But he has a beautiful mind. He's a super smart guy. He has a talent to just see things through a different scope and see the holes and the possible consequences from certain decisions to be made. He's always seeing things from the other side. It's amazing. I'll look at things one way. Of course, we should do this. He's like, well, how about this, and this? I'm like, fuck, man, I didn't even think about that. And he
yeah,
sees these things really quick. It's a talent he has. So having a partner that with complete opposite skill sets has been like one of the biggest reasons why we have such a strong partnership. Because when you have a partner with the same skill sets, you tend to make not good decisions, and you also tend to have a lot of arguments.
yeah. And I feel like you have to have that. Me and my business partner are the exact same way. He runs sales. Even though I'm super outgoing, I like to know like the back end stuff of how it functions, right? and he might be doing something completely that doesn't jive with this part of, the systems. So you need both of those two to be communicating, but also it's completely different mindsets of how to operate the business. You can't just hire a bunch of people, shove a bunch of leads down there and think you're going to be successful. You need to have the technology, the systems, operations, and then the full back end operations for the whole system and sales to work. So you need both those parties to actually even see, the business scale, because eventually you're going to hit something that, that's not going to allow you to scale. So you guys have definitely found probably a rhythm between the two that you've seen massive success. I think that's why you've seen that huge hockey stick growth. I mean, that's pretty rapid if you think about it. In a couple of years, you guys scale.
Yeah, yeah, and reporting and proper conversion data, and just constantly analyzing the leads, how they're converting, how you're rotating the leads, the sales guys, how they're affected. I mean, there's so much reporting that we have, that we built, that Kevin's built over the past 3 years to give us the insights that we need to make decisions. Because when you come from dialing for dollars and
Yeah.
having such a low cost per acquisition to now dealing with paid media to $15-20 leads, and your cost per acquisition going through the roof, and trying to control that when marketing is your biggest expense, if you're not constantly optimizing and tweaking it, you'll lose a shitload of money. And that's why
Yeah.
a lot of people, a lot of businesses don't last when they're working on paid leads. Unless you're an e-commerce business and you're going straight some kind of ROAS, and you could track
Yeah.
conversions through the ads manager, whatever you're using. When you're dealing with the human element, and you're dealing with reps and them coming in and them being on time, and if they're not in, distributing the leads to the other rep, and how you're rotating them, how you're just positioning the leads. I mean, I'm talking your game now. You know this.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
You're dealing with customers. You got to think too, a customer is applying on their time. Unfortunately, or, you got employees that have a set schedule. So now how do you get a hold of that person? How do you get on that person's radar again so you can actually sell your product or service? That's a hard task to do. It's a hard task to do with 5 people. Try to do with, how many sales guys you have. How many sales guys you have currently right now on your floor, you think?
So guys that are taking leads, there's this week we track week by week because we got to make sure we have enough leads. So we have 42 guys taking the leads, and then we have 2 upsell departments. So total reps like 60 sales reps, but guys working the leads right now, live leads, are 42 this week.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to get everybody dialed in to even care about the leads, because especially too, if you have a lot of leads coming in, what I've noticed is, sales reps can become spoiled. Where like, hey, it's just another lead in my system versus, or took a lot of cost, strategy, game planning to get that lead to that salesperson, and for them to either treat it, like the way it should be, or to even be there to work that client. Right. So it's a super hard balancing act. I've it took me years to try to figure out a good system, but honestly, I think what you kind of mentioned is using technology to assist with that. Cause sales reps they're not always going to be there. They're going to be out, they're gonna be sick. But you got to use the technology to facilitate assistance with, your operations. That's the only way you can do it, with the amount of salespeople and leads you guys are generating.
That's why, when we first had our conversation, we talked about, hey, maybe you could convert some of my leads who need lending, right? The first thing that we ask anybody that wants to partner up with us is like, what CRM do you use? How do you rotate your leads? Do you have custom reporting? Because as soon as we hear, no, I'll send you an Excel sheet and give you status, forget about it, dude.
Yeah, it's done.
That means you're not running efficiently. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. There's just no way, man. We got it to the point where and like I said, this is Kevin's end of it, that we know that each sales guy has to have 22 leads per day in order to hit their number and hit their quota. So every Friday, we figure out how many sales reps are supposed to be in on Monday. And I give that number to the marketing guy. Hey, we got 41 guys on the phone. So 41 times 22, that's how many leads per day we need 7 days a week moving into Saturday.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to do. So
yeah.
then we give them a little, say, look, you could come within minus 400 up to plus 400 and staying in that range. So every day he's optimizing, trying to stay in that range to make sure that my guys are armed with enough leads to hit their numbers. And we're constantly analyzing that number and adjusting that as well. And that's how you got to treat it.
Yeah. And it's hard too. You got to think now, you got to talk about marketing and bringing in not just leads, but qualified leads. just because you get leads to your sales floor does not mean those customers are, the customers that you need or the demographic or all that stuff. Right. So it's a balancing act to, make sure your technology's, maximize your sales floor is there and servicing these customers. Then your marketing is bringing in new customers every single day. And I think you mentioned something too, is the recurring revenue model. I think that's so important too, because our business sees that a lot. About 50% of our customers renew for additional financing for their business. And if we didn't have that, and we're constantly just working off of new business and new leads, it's sometimes a means to an end, where if something changes, you're going to be wiped out. And thank God that you have some sort of base of recurring revenue, because if something does change in your business, that at least you have that to support it, to help you make those changes. Because it's super hard when you're relying on just one source of income and, whatever, a couple sources of leads, if that changes. So I love the recurring revenue model. That's been our saving grace, coming through COVID and all that good stuff. And I'm sure this has been a blessing, probably in disguise, when you first got into it. But that recurring revenue, it's a life changer.
I mean, the mortgage business, that's what happened to me. All of a sudden, we're only making money off of the refis. And then all of a sudden it stopped happening. And then all of a sudden we had to make payroll. And then it happened so fast because there was no money coming in. With this business now with APN, we got it up to roughly about $700K a month in recurring revenue. So this year, out of our 21 million gross revenue, 8 million or so will be reoccurring revenue, so
Wow.
no matter what, we have that revenue coming in. God forbid there's a downturn or, and we've been through some ups and downs, and usually downturns in the economy don't really hurt us that much, because what we sell people need, and our price points aren't high. I'm a high volume, low ticket guy. Our monthlies are $199 a month. There's a lot of other things for someone to cut out of their monthly budget when they're trying to clamp down on things, than a $199 that's helping them, get more business. So, we thank God we don't suffer that much when things get a little hairy with the economy. So, and that's why I like the low ticket, high volume. Like I've had plenty of conversation with people like, would you rather have 30 clients paying or 50 clients paying 10K a month each, or thousands paying 200? I said, well, I'd rather have thousands paying 200 because, if you got 50 clients paying 10K and 10 of them cancel, you just lost 20% of all your reoccurring revenue.
Yeah.
And it happens fast when it comes to high ticket. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I love high ticket. I love all ticket, but I prefer the high volume, low ticket. It's sticky. It lasts longer.
Yeah. And I think too, is just kind of like, let's say like anything with multiples in it adds protection. Real estate. If you own a fourplex versus 30 units, what do you think is going to happen? Who's more at risk? It's not the guy with the 30 units, no, because he has more people to pay the rent, right? Yep. So it's the same thing with business, and it's marketing and sales. So I love that model. I think too is not just what you have as a product, but what you guys built as a culture there. Can you touch on that? And the reason why I want to talk about that is it is extremely hard to build a culture, and not just a culture where people are excited to show up for, a good paycheck, and maybe the guys are making a lot of money, but it's good. It's when you guys can bring in a lot of group of people to have that same common and same vision. So they're not just in it just for themselves, but they're in it for the vision of the company growing and scaling. How have you guys done that? Because when I showed up at your guys' floor with however many people, it looked like 125 people there, but it was massive. And I love sales floor and just operational floors in general. I love that. And we've always tried to build it here, but we've always had obstacles of that massive, massive scale and of mass hiring. And now we found a good niche of scaling at an okay rate. But tell me a little about how you've grown that sales floor and that culture at your company, because it is truly amazing.
Yeah, culture is so big for us, man. Our core values here are EDC. You got to be enthusiastic, disciplined, and competitive to work here. From day one, we've always done the morning meetings, a lot of positive. We do a lot of team events. We do theme days once a month. We're always pouring back the employees. We're buying employees lunch all the time. We bring in speakers. We have a VP of leadership. He meets with each team every other week for 15 minutes in the morning and talks about leadership development and making them the best version of themselves. We have a tech advisor who's also a mindset advisor. We play mindset audios twice a week. We do a mindset Zoom workshop. Well, we talk a lot about fitness. We do fitness Fridays every Friday morning. Guys will meet us here in the morning. We do a quick little workout together. We're preaching health. We're preaching wellness. So, it's a very, very positive, the team environment. Everybody feels like it's a family here. We've always started with that from day one. We treat them good. We take care of them good. We have an aggressive comp plan. And, we love it, man. The people love to work here. We do surveys all the time. Surveys are always, people love working here. When people leave here, they don't quit because they're not happy. They usually leave because they're just not that good at selling and making money. And they tell us, hey, man, I love it here. I'm just not hitting my numbers. And I'm sorry. I just not good at sales. And It's usually that kind of thing. If you look at our Indeed and Glassdoor reviews, like it's nothing but people saying, best job I ever worked at, amazing culture, great CEO, great meetings, great positivity, family vibe. They buy us lunch, great team events. We love it. Like we get all of that. So, and that we treat them good. People don't get yelled at here. No one gets talked down to here. We're all adults. We're all here. We see each other more than we see our own families. So treat each other with respect and constantly help your teammates out, instill confidence in others, and do a lot of recognition. We do awards every month. We give awards out. We recognize employees in every department. We give out a jersey. We have this new thing we started a year ago where you could earn an actual jersey with your name on it for certain different accolades. And then we do a jersey ceremony and we have like fog smoke playing with music and we have them come get their jersey and a lot of recognition. Recognition is big. Sometimes people want to be recognized more than even making more money. People want to feel acknowledged and heard and recognized for their work. And then the other thing too, Ken, that's been big is that we run our business on EOS. It's called Entrepreneur Operating System. It's just a way to run your business, scorecards for every department, the way you run your meetings. And one of the core principles is every quarter, me and my partners meet up and we do our quarterly meeting where we look at our numbers, assess where we are, set our new agenda, our rocks, which is our 90-day goals, all the issues we have in the company, go over our numbers, and then we have a VTO meeting with the entire company. We cook breakfast for the whole company, and then I go over the VTO. It's called Vision Traction Organizer. Our vision, how much traction we have, and how it's organized on this one sheet of paper. And then I go over the whole thing and operate in transparency. Here are our numbers, guys. Here's where we're falling short. Here's where we have to do better. Here's the issues. Here's the growth opportunities for you guys. Here's what we're going to be rolling out next quarter. So this way, everybody here knows what's going on behind the scenes instead of just operating like you don't know what's going on back there. They have to know their role and how they're playing into hitting these numbers. And I think they really appreciate that we operate like that.
Yeah, well, I think you're cueing them into the vision of the company, right? So
yeah,
They're
exactly.
not just, of course, they want. It's kind of like if you worked at a company, and I always thought this, when I was younger working at companies, is if I'm more bought into the vision of the company, if I do a better job of my position, I'm only just reassuring that company's more successful and I can stay there longer and I can provide for my family and I give stability, right? And this is before I ever wanted to be an entrepreneur or ever thought I should be an entrepreneur. I just wanted a good place where I can make some good money and provide for my family. And I saw that with a couple of companies I worked for, actually in the mortgage industry as well. And it's funny, these companies were huge and they did all that. They did the vision, they did sharing the insights of where the company's at, where is it going, and how can we get there, right? And I feel like if you share those key aspects with your employees and you're not just barking orders at the top, it's kind of like telling your kid, like, hey, don't put your hand on that. No, you got to tell them it's hot. This is the reason it's hot. It might hurt your hand, right? I don't want you to get hurt. So it's the same thing with your team and your employees or your wife, any of the people in your life that you're trying to get somewhere. You probably try to include them into it because you're not just trying to sell them into it. You really want them to organically buy into it.
Of course.
So you can have that growth when the opportunity hits with the market, the systems, all that stuff. So I already know for sure just by seeing your social, but just seeing the floor, the vibe of it when I was there was probably one of a kind. And I've been to a lot of different companies before. And I haven't seen a sales floor like that and just a team floor in years. And since I've worked at a last company, which was like 800 employees probably. And that was the last time I kind of saw that. So
Well,
I
thank
told my partner as soon as I came back, I was like, that was seriously a thing of beauty. So, and I'm not just, just saying that to you.
I appreciate that.
It really is hard to build.
Come here anytime you want, man. Bring them over for lunch, anytime.
No, I appreciate it, man. So APN Tech, you guys are, how many employees right now, would you say?
We're a little over, we're closing in on 100. It's like 92 or 93. We're getting there.
Okay. And so what's the next goal for APN Tech? Obviously you guys are scaling like almost by doubles every single year. Where do you see yourself, in the next couple of years? What is your objectives with APN Tech? And I know, of course, maybe you want to sell it, or is this going to be a legacy business you pass on to your kids, or are you trying to exit? What's your guys' game plans?
Definitely not a legacy business. Sure, we would love to have an exit. I think operating the company as if you're going to exit, no matter what's the right thing to do, right? This way you set your business up where you don't have to be working in the business all the time, because if you were to sell your company, everything has to be transferable. The acquirer has to know that they could step in and the business would run just as good without me. So I think operating like that anyway is the right way to go. I'd love to eventually exit the business. And then, you know how that goes. If an exit happened, we would get acquired. They'd keep us on. They'd want all our staff to stay, continue to grow the company, and infuse us with the capital we need to grow. So, short-term goal, we're looking to get to, 35 million with a 5 million EBITDA in the next 2 years. And then we'll take it from there. We're not sure exactly where we're going with the tech right now. There was one direction we were going with blockchain and Web 3.0, and we're kind of looking at that and looking at how much more value that would bring to the company, and if it makes sense to even do that. Because sometimes you do things because they seem cool, but is it going to add enterprise value? Is all that effort to put into that going to actually make the company worth more money, or will it be worth the same without those extra cool little features and trendy things to do? So we've been analyzing that in the direction of the technology right now, and if we should add certain components, because sometimes you just want to be unique, when sometimes it can make a fucking difference. So, right now we're getting a lot of good advice. We have a new board of advisors that we established, which has been invaluable to us, getting the right advice in the decisions that we make. And right now, short-term goal, 28 million next year is the goal. And we need to ramp up our sales staff and bring in producing reps who hit the quota for us to grow by about 2 reps a month over the next year. And we'll hit our 28 million next year. Big initiative too is to reduce our churn rate. Our churn rate's a little higher than we want it to be. So the tech team right now is working on some awesome reporting so the customers can see exactly, how much more they're showing up visibility wise in their local area. That's a huge initiative to us. And the last big initiative for next year is this brand new HR system we're rolling out to make the employee experience here a lot better, a lot easier, have access to everything they need with an app. So that's coming down the pipe too. So we're just working on shit all the time, man.
No, I love it, man. I think too is even with the tech stuff, I know that, you might be chasing something, but the thing I like that you guys do, you guys are constantly innovating and reinventing yourself. And not every single time you guys as owners, that you're not going to make the right decision. But the thing is, you're trying to reinvent yourself. So sometimes, I've had that same issue where I'll go after this big vision and I'll spend a bunch of time and effort on it, and it didn't really pan out like I wanted to. But at least I can cross out of my bucket list and okay, hey, on to the next, right? And then as soon as that thing's done, as an owner, thank God I have that ability where I just switch to the next thing. It's almost like it never happened, right? So I think, a business owner, you have to have that capability of just, hey, we tried that, sit, forget, and then you're on to the next strategy, the next operation for the business.
Done that so many times, dude. And then you look back damn, we spent 12 months working on that, but that's how you learn. And that's not a bad thing, man. You learn from your mistakes. Like I said, no game-changing mistakes that you can't recover from anymore. Mistakes here and there, wasted time here and there. It's going to happen. You learn, you move on. That's all.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. And I think your journey as an entrepreneur, you're proven. You've done it multiple times. And I always say that, like, hey, if you could do it once, you figured something out. If you do it twice, you got a blueprint. If you do it 3 times, you're goaded.
Three
So I
times the
think
charm.
I think you've
That's
been I think you've been goaded, man. So, and that's hard to do. And not only are you overcoming your business challenges, but your different economic cycles, life changes, right? Financial changes, but you're where you're at right now. And I have no doubt in the future that you're going to be even more successful. I think it's just organically driven in you that it doesn't matter what is going to come across your way, either an exit or whatever happens, right? You're always going to be successful because you have the traits for it. So what do you
the
think? Yeah. And what do you think have gotten you to this point? If you can share just a little tidbits to these guys and
yeah.
girls, what has gotten you to this point of being successful and holding a multi 8-figure-year business with, almost 100 employees?
The past couple years, I've been doing things I've never done before, especially when I met Nick and I started to understand. Number one, fitness has been a big thing for me. I've been going to the gym religiously for 10 years, and what it does for your mindset, what it does for your confidence and the way you show up every day has been a big thing for me. A lot of times people just tie fitness into just looks and aesthetics when, it's much more than that, on how I feel every day, how I show up, how my clothes fit on me, my confidence level when I go into meetings and I have to close my own version of deals, building relationships. That's been a big thing. And then I started really practicing hard the last 3 years on my morning routine, my gratitude, my little journal. I journal every morning, quick little journal entry with my thoughts. And then I always write 3, 4, 5 things I'm grateful for. Start my day every day like that. I write some affirmations down to remind myself who I am, what I've been through, and how I'm built for this. And then, and I start my day. I've been incorporating meditation, although I don't do it as often as I should. I've been doing my meditation. So practicing that stuff, which I never would have thought I did, coming from New Jersey, my friends from home would be like, dude, what happened to you? You went to California, you got soft now. What is this?
Yeah.
And but wow, man, it's opened up a whole nother, unlocked another level for me. By starting my day with that every day. I have this crazy morning routine. I get up at 3:45 a.m. every day. I'm in the gym by 4:15. I'm doing my routine. I do my gratitude, my journaling, my affirmations, my workouts. I do a little cold shower at the end of my shower every day. And just doing that every day for some reason, man, has just completely changed the way I think and feel when I show up every day to work, and just grounds me, man. And that's been something I never did before. I always did the fitness, but
Yeah.
not all the other stuff, and has just made me a better person, a better leader, a better husband to my wife, a better father to my kids. Because I start my day every day that way, I feel like that's been the biggest thing for me to change, keep my ego in check,
Mm.
always stay humble. And by starting the day with the gratitude and affirmations, I feel like that's just completely changed, and it's been the next evolution for me.
I think as a structure, as entrepreneurs, your days are so wild and there's ups and downs emotionally, financially, employees, whatever's going on. But having that structure, that baseline of just that constant routine, and what happens over years and years of you doing that, it just compounds. So all those days, all those efforts, eventually it hits at a point, and then something in your life takes off. So I think that's a great place to end the show today. But Anthony, I appreciate you jumping on, man, and not just showing that you had one business that just took off right away. I love entrepreneurs that have battled through multiple different verticals, challenges, marketplaces, because it's just that's what entrepreneurship is at the end of the day. It's figuring out a business model that works and that's scalable and hopefully ultimately saleable. So again, I appreciate you jumping on. Where can everybody follow you? I know you're on social now. Can you hit everybody with your social links and all that good stuff?
Yeah. It's Anthony Busciglio, ANTHONY.BUSCIGLIO. Same thing on TikTok. We have a great social media girl. We film a lot of content. I try to give some nuggets out. So come follow me. You can DM me with any questions. However I can help anybody, I try to help. I try to pay it forward. I've been very fortunate to have a lot of people in my life who have helped me without looking for anything in return. So when anybody asks me any kind of questions, if I'm around, I want to help and pay it forward. And I think that's the right thing to do.
That's awesome. Everybody go follow Anthony. He's a true entrepreneur. He's scaling businesses and he's doing it the right way and building a culture. So follow him, see how he's doing it, and hopefully you can get a couple little nuggets for your business. But again, Anthony, I appreciate you joining the Lead God podcast and look forward to working with you a little bit more in the future.
Thanks, brother. That was fun.
Thanks, brother.